back to my channel, my fellow fans of the written word. Back in the saddle with Alex Verus series. Since this is a sequel, I'm going to presume that you've read the first installment and you don't mind spoilers, because spoilers ahead. Last time we saw Alex, he saved the day, he made Luna his apprentice, he made peace with reintegrating himself into the magical society again, but this time a conspiracy is abound. There is a forbidden ritual called harvesting, which can turn a normal human into a mage, or it can increase someone's existing magical potential. But there is a catch, of course, there's always a catch. Harvesting does have major consequences for one's sanity. Not to mention that there are laws against it. This is why the antagonists, this time interestingly white mages with a lot of ambition, are targeting magical creatures like our dear Arachne. That's the gist of the plot. Now, what I expected. Well, I expected a small time jump, which I think is a common practice in between the books in urban fantasy. I did compare in the previous review the whole genre of urban fantasy to a TV series structurally, because there are not a lot of B and C subplots going on, and I think this point stands. I also expected more info about Arachne, more Luna finding out, or us, the audience, the readers, finding out about her curse, and so on. Comparatively, what I got was a time jump, yes, but that's pretty much the only thing that I guessed. I did not guess a magical school trope, which, to be fair, wasn't a bad one. It was just the last thing I expected. The way the last book ended, I assumed that a master teaches their apprentice and that's it. Turns out there's this whole support schooling system in place with mentorship and things like that. Let's say what I liked. Few things that I liked. Few things that are worth talking about. I am a sucker for frenemy situations. And I think that Cinder is shaping up to be a good one. He partners up with Alex out of necessity, but during their team up, he makes a few observations about him that show us that there's much more to him that he might seem like. For example, he knows that Rachel, or Delia as she likes to be called, hates him because she considers him weak, since they studied together under Richard and he's the one that got away. But Cinder thinks that Alex is actually someone dangerous, someone who he thinks is a predator but hides their true nature better. More of Cinder, please. Secondly, Cinder. Cinder is a great secondary character, and it's someone that I want to know more of as he develops. From a purely mechanical standpoint, writing-wise, it seems to me that mages who have passive powers and have to rely on their own wits primarily, and on their magical skills lastly, are much more layered characters as well, intentionally or not. It seems to me that with the exception of Cinder, for example, he is a elemental mage, but he comes off as ruthless, as very straightforward, but there is much more to him. But he doesn't strike me as someone who's very practical, because he doesn't have to problem solve the way that someone like Alex or even Luna have to. Thirdly, taboo of consuming someone in order to get their essence, their power. I think that that really worked as a kind of a driving force of the novel. It's a tangible, almost existential level of threat. It's not like a dark overlord or a light overlord in this case um, wanted to conquer the world. It was just a classical case of hubris and ambition. But like I said, on existential level, when you think about it, it's almost like a step over cannibalism. It's like, okay, so you kill someone and you eat them. Well, in this case, you consume their energy. It's not like you eat their flesh. But not only that, but you rob them of themselves. So it's like a step forward, which makes it even more potentially scarier. And essentially, especially since it's leveled on Arachne, who is a kind, gentle giant type of character, which I find very endearing, and you just don't want anything to happen to her. Next point that I would like to discuss is, well, it's a minor thing, but well, first of all, I did not expect a freaking dragon, but I think that Jacka managed to make dragon not out of place in a very non-epic fantasy setting, which is hard to do. The way he did it, he turned it into a deity for magical creatures, which I think really works. It was brief, it was very cryptic, but it served the purpose. I think it was very effective. And my last point on the what I liked section is Martin. Antagonists like Martin work well usually because, again, it's not a dark overlord or a someone who is misguided. We all know a person like that. Someone who smiles, but there's nothing behind the smile. Someone who is deeply unconcerned about others, selfish, needy person who takes advantage of others. Someone who emotionally manipulates, gaslights people, and who is someone who you shrug off, but you shouldn't because they can do a lot of damage. Let's move on to things I didn't care for. And I only have 2 points, but I think they're worth discussing. I understand that when we talk about urban fantasy, some things are almost unavoidable. For example, the noir elements, noir trappings, are hard-coded into the subgenre. And one of the noir tropes that's very prevalent in noir and hard-boiled fiction is the femme fatale. And this is a trope that can come off extremely tacky. And I think it fails victim here with Meredith. She is such a nothing character. I'm not even talking about the time when Alex noticed that she never talks about herself, or that he cannot pin down a single threat outside of her looks. I'm just talking about her role as a character. We know that her magical power is emotionally manipulating people. Her whole empathy thing is very explicit. But she is controlling characters. That doesn't mean that she has to blend in, right? She has to make herself desirable. She has to manipulate people. And when she is manipulating people, she does everything to submit herself to a person. But we never ever get a feeling, or at least I don't, that she's a real person, that outside of her manipulation, she has her own wants and need and agency and just any character traits at all. I'm not talking about making her a well, a goody two shoes or anything like that, or a misunderstood character. No, she can be as selfish, cowardly, antagonistic, monster, anything, but just I cannot pinpoint a single trait except for maybe cowardly, but that's just such a blanket statement. There's could be so much to her. For example, we find out that she is a non-aligned mage, and this is a first case outside of our protagonist Alex, that we find out that there are more. So my first instinct when I read that she's a non-aligned mage would be, oh, I wonder what her upbringing was, because Alex was an anomaly. He escaped from his master and asked the mage council for help, and they refused him because they thought that his master will return and finish up the business himself. But Alex's master never came back, and Alex just continued living on the fringe. But with her, we find out that, well, we don't find out anything. We don't know. We only know that she's an unaligned mage that has some kind of connections, and that's it. I've spent too much talking about her. My second point is, and that's unfortunately something that I did not expect from the book, which I think is fixable, and I hope it's not a thing in the future novels. So, writing wise, I like Alex a lot, and I still continue to like him a lot, but I felt that part when he was pondering about Luna felt a bit sexist, to be honest. And I'm not the guy who screams sexism in any chance he can. It's just his whole thought process about not being sure what to do about her. Do I want to date her? Do I want to be her master? Do I want to be her friend? I think there is enough conflict there between a master and a friend, because a master and apprentice is a very different dynamic between two friends, even if one of the friends is more experienced and older. It's not like there is a huge difference. I do not object to them dating. It's just I thought it was too much and a bit too sleazy. But just a dynamic between if we are a master and apprentice, then the power dynamic is much more different, and we cannot be as we used to be. There is a shift. So I already started reading the third book, and I think the author avoided it in the future. And lastly, my verdict, my overall opinion about the book. I think that the series continues to be well edited, briskly paced, a page turner essentially. It doesn't thread around same structure, same ground as the last book. But it does misuse some of the genre's cliches. But what saves it, and I hope it keeps going in that style, is the small scope. I think the small scope of the series is the unsung positive thing about it. It also has very likable cast. So small scope, likable cast is a good recipe, and I'm already reading the next one. So 4 stars, just like the previous one. Thank you all for watching. If you have any of your comments, if you disagree with my opinions, please free to share them. I hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe if you did. If you don't, well, thank you for watching anyway, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.